The reason why taxes suck, or why a libertarian, I guess, might feel like taxes are theft, is because you only see one part of that exchange. I work, and then the government steals my money. But what people don't see is the only reason why you were able to earn that money in the first place is because of taxes that had already been paid. So whether we're talking about basic shit and obvious shit like roads and schools, or whether we're talking about more abstract stuff like a military to defend your country, or larger bodies that organize trade between you and other countries, right? Like the only reason you're enabled to even earn any money in the first place is because of what your tax dollars have already gone towards paying for. So that's why I'm in favor of things like taxation. Like it's not just you getting robbed by the government, you're paying the government for a service that it provides you, but it's really easy to see the tax dollars you lose, and it's really hard to see the benefit the government provides.
Oh boy. Watching Destiny right now where he talks to a lady and she's like, so if someone breaks into your barn that's not attached to your house to steal a horse or something, do you have a right to kill them? And he says, yes, I do. Total personal property and such. This guy's literally watching. This is a debate I had with White Nervosa like 2 years ago. The only reason I bring this up is like, remember when I said Destiny has a clear moral attachment to personal property that clearly transcends any utilitarian claim? And people are like, no, could not be. Just remembering this beautiful online moment, I don't know. Oh my God, he keeps saying it is so funny. This was 3 years ago. This is my favorite estimate by far because the whole time the lady is just like intensely reasonable. Like, wait, so you think just because they're stealing your stuff, they're forfeiting your right to life, like beyond self-defense? He's like, hell yeah, yes. Only watched the first 24 minutes so far. I'll let you know if you just absolutely want. Your view on that hasn't changed though, right? It's not, you know, especially when he says words like utilitarian claim. Like, well, okay, let's run it down. Let's say, let's run it in a utilitarian manner. So let's assume that one action is good for like how all society can act in a way that optimizes everybody's well-being, okay? Let's say that I say that it's okay to break into people's barns because they'll never be met with lethal force. And you know that nobody will ever kill you for doing so. What kind of a society in a utilitarian world does that create? Every single time you think you can get away with stealing something from somebody's barn where the only thing they have is lethal force to meet you with, you can get away with it? Like, how does that even make sense if he wants to keep throwing around the word utilitarian? I'm fucking weeping. How on earth is this man at a hardcore ANCAP? I literally don't understand. Does he not understand that taxation is theft as he's describing it, legitimized only by states' monopoly on legal violence? Are hundreds of hours with taxes included? Okay, bring him on. Bring him on. Hello? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh. Yep. What's up? By the way, just wanted to start off by saying when I'm watching your videos, debates late at night, I'm not like digging through your old material trying to dredge up some shit to say about you online. I just do it when it's late. I'm not trying to roast you, though I do find things that I am confused about often. I like your debates. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just giving you a warning. So I'm actually a really nice person generally, but 2021 is the year of mean destiny. So I'm going to try to hold you super accountable to what you're saying. So when you say you're not trying to dredge up old shit to get points, you realize that is actually exactly what you're doing on Twitter, right?
Oh, no. I realize that I'm totally doing that on Twitter. I'm not denying I'm doing that on Twitter. I'm just saying that it's not like I'm watching your videos headlong with the only desire to roast you.
Gotcha.
I watch many.
It's just weird that somebody would be going through like a 3-year-old video.
Oh, it just came up. Recommended. Anyway.
Good. Well, the YouTube algorithm is doing work.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't understand why you're not like a straight up ANCAP. I'm not trying to debate you. I just don't get it entirely.
Wait, why would it be an ANCAP?
Well, because so in that conversation, do you believe everything you said there?
It's been a long time, but probably, unless my positions have changed. Like, you can ask me like a particular stance, I can tell you what I think, or give me a quote.
You said, I believe, I'm not trying to take you out of context. You said something along the lines of, if somebody goes into your barn that you're not in, or even if your family is safe, you see breaking into and taking private property, something that is so sacred, so evil, that they essentially deserve like a bullet in their head. Like they forfeited the right to life.
So let's restructure this a little bit so that it's not as inflammatory, so that you're not begging the question. So I think that if you give proper notice to somebody and they know that their life will be on the line if they decide to break into your stuff and steal your stuff from you, that you have the right to defend that if using lethal force. Yeah.
So you think that stealing somebody's property does totally forfeit the right to life if due notice is given. Due notice meaning like get the fuck out.
Yep. And do you believe that if a person is strong enough, they should be able to infinitely steal from people weaker than them?
No.
Okay, so if somebody is breaking into somebody's stuff and you give a notice, hey, don't do that, but that person is stronger than the other person, so the only way they could defend is with lethal force, do you think they should be able to be infinitely stolen from if they're weaker?
I think that there's like structures that ought to be in place to prevent these things that don't necessarily revolve around like just somebody existing and being more.
Can you give me an
physically
example of that
powerful.
structure? I hope you're not about to say calling the police, because I'm pretty sure that if I were to go through your material, you would probably talk at some point about how calling the police can needlessly escalate conflict.
Oh no, I think that calling the police would probably be a good idea. I mean,
Okay, but what are the police going to do if the person fails to comply, ultimately?
What are the police going to do if the person fails to comply? Look, if somebody's breaking into your house, right? And let's pretend you have some sort of a. Okay, so I guess you're upstairs or they're in the barn, right? You remember? Do you remember that? You talked about them being in a barn.
Yeah, they're breaking into a place. It's not. There's the point of this analogy is there is no threat to life. They're breaking into something outside. Sure.
Okay, so probably I wouldn't think that it was good to. I would probably think that it was good to call the police. You mentioned that I'm critical of the police. I definitely am. I think that somebody needs to be there to preserve what people.
But the weird thing is that if you call the police are ultimately showing up with lethal force, are they not?
Sure, if the person doesn't then comply and like start shooting at the police, I guess would be the idea. That's the only case in which the police should shoot somebody.
Well, not start shooting. It would be like resisting to the point to where the police aren't able to bring the person down in any other way besides escalating to lethal force, right? Which brings me back to my first question of if the person is strong enough, should they be allowed to infinitely steal from weaker people?
Person is strong enough, should they be infinitely allowed to steal from weaker
Because that's the
people?
argument that you're making, because you keep throwing around like the utilitarian word. You're arguing that if somebody has sufficient strength such that the only way to stop them is with lethal force, it's immoral to do so. So a person that's strong enough should be able to infinitely steal from weaker people. That's the argument that you're...
I definitely think that if somebody's like rampaging around, like destroying people's lives and the like...
No, we're not talking about destroying people's lives.
Destroying people. Well, destroying people's livelihoods, destroying people's, as you would say, the essence of their lives, which is, they buy it with their life force. You did the whole thing in the debate.
I don't even. It doesn't even need to be that intense. It could just be like a fun motorcycle that you drive on the weekends in your garage.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely say that at some point, detaining that person should be a high priority.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just trying to be really clear.
That person,
we keep going into things like rampaging. I'm not talking about rampaging. I'm talking about
infinitely stealing. I thought you were saying. I'm sorry. I took it from the infinitely stealing.
Well, when I say infinitely stealing, what I'm saying is you're crafting this kind of like moral rule saying that you can never defend your property with lethal force, assuming that a life isn't over.
Right.
And so my question is that if somebody knows that, because now you've crafted that, you want to talk utilitarian, so we've got this rule utilitarian outlook, and we have a rule for society that says you can't defend property with lethal force. Could a sufficiently large man just go to people's houses, break in, steal what he wants, and then when somebody's like, yo, stop, or I'm going to shoot you, and the guy's like, you can't do that, dude, that's immoral, and then walk away with all your shit. Yeah.
So in this particular hypothetical, this man is he's from like Baki or something, like an anime where he's so buff and powerful that any sort of attempt to detain him or arrest him non-lethally would be out of the question. He's just much too buff and powerful for that. Is that it? Is that the idea?
So while that is the idea, I'm going to take issue with your framing because it is very hard to detain a person. This is why multiple police officers will be involved in this, and it's very likely that a person is able to be large enough to present like some sort of lethal threat to people trying to detain him. So I agree with what you're saying in terms of how you phrase it, but the tone that you're using makes it sound highly improbable when it's absolutely not improbable. Like plenty of people that steal things are going to be larger than the people they're stealing things from.
I think that there is a moral duty to make attempts to detain them non-lethally before lethal force is applied if your life is not in danger. That's what I would say.
Sure. So my question is, let's say somebody, and I believe this to be a very reasonable example, okay? Because police don't show up instantly, okay? Let's say that I have a sign, so I'm putting someone on notice. I have a sign in front of a garage that says, if you cannot run my gun, or whatever the redneck fucking signs are about lethal force. I've got a sign there, okay? And a guy goes up to my garage. He can read it. He knows the risks. And he says, I'm going to break into this garage and steal this dude's shit. Let's say that I see him, and I see him break into my garage, and I know that if he gets into the garage, he's going to ride off with my motorcycle. And I tell him, hey, stop. I'm calling the cops. I'm going to shoot you if you get on my bike and ride away. Am I obligated morally to just watch him ride off with my thing because I don't have the physical strength to perform him?
Yeah, absolutely, right? You don't think that you have the moral obligation to watch him ride away with your bike? You don't think that? Yeah, I would absolutely say yes. You have the moral obligation
Okay.
to not take his life.
So
right?
then,
That's what I
okay,
would
gotcha.
say.
So then backing up to what I said before then, you think that strong people should be able to infinitely steal from weaker people.
Do I think they should be? No, I think they should be prevented from doing it.
How do you
for
prevent
sure.
all theft?
How do you prevent all theft? Well, I would hope that there be some kind of a legal system in place.
Okay, I'm trying to be very gentle, okay? And I'm gonna inform you that you are speaking from an area of unbelievable privilege if you think the police give a fuck about any type of normal burglary or theft, okay? As somebody that has had my car broken into and stolen from multiple times, police are never tracking down like fucking TVs or instruments or anything like that, right?
Sure.
In your world, actually, hold on. I'm going to cross a bridge here and meet you halfway. If there were a world where every possession was guaranteed to be returned by the legal system, I think I might agree with you. So let's
Well, not
say,
even that. If there was a world wherein it was, I hope you would agree. If it was at least highly probable or even likely, I would hope you would agree.
in this
right?
world, no, absolutely not. If somebody
No,
breaks into your
I'm
house,
saying if it not just a perfect, but even if there was like a 50%, what's the odds for you?
it would have to be 95% chance plus. 50% is not
Dang,
good enough.
dude, that's crazy high to me. I don't know.
Why do you think that stronger people should be allowed to walk in and steal things from weaker people?
I don't think that they should be allowed to walk in and steal
But
things.
if the
from weaker
only
people.
option is using lethal force to take the person out or watching them take your stuff, why should a stronger person who knows exactly what they're doing and they're fully aware of the situation, why should that person be allowed to steal from somebody weaker than them?
I would honestly say that it's important to like write down their license and report them to the proper authorities. I don't think that your motorcycle. So you ask, is it okay? You're right. You give the hypothetical. Is it okay for infinitely strong people to steal from weaker people?
They know
right?
the police aren't going to show up in time. Yeah, they're just going to break in and steal shit. Yeah.
Sure, but I would just say, like, does that give you? I just because they shouldn't have the right to do that doesn't necessarily give you the right to murder them, right?
Well, hold on. Wait. Let's be careful. Not murder, but kill.
Okay, kill. Sure. Execute them, right?
Let's just say kill, okay? Because the other two words are really loaded, and I think kill gets across the point of what we're talking about, right? And I'm being nice on kill because I could say defend your property with lethal force, but we'll say kill somebody, sure.
Sorry,
if you inform somebody, sure, you inform somebody like, hey, if you get on that and steal my shit, I am going to kill you. You warn them of that, and they fully understand that, they fully are aware of that. And then they hop on your bike and they're like, yeah, fuck you. Like, you're small, I'm big, peace out. And they just ride away. You're just supposed to sit there and be like, well, fuck, he's right. I guess he just gets to steal my shit.
So, like, what's the line for you? Like, if you're, like, eating a sandwich and, like, somebody comes up and starts to take the sandwich and you're like, if you grab it any faster, I'll murder. Like, there has to be a line somewhere, right?
So my understanding would be is if the other person is aware of the risks of what they're doing, then they necessarily consent to any and all outcomes that are going to be enacted on them when they violate another person's, whether it's their personal space, whether it's their boundary, whether it's their body. Like, yeah, 100%. Because the alternative to that is saying I have to be okay with strong people infinitely robbing weak people. Because, hey, you can't respond with lethal force and you're never going to like fight the guy because now you're putting yourself at danger. So, yeah, of course. But like in our two extreme worlds, like in the world that you've made, any strong person can steal from any weak person ever, as long as they feel like the cops won't get there in time. In my world, people can't steal people's shit without somebody potentially responding with lethal force. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Now, it would be pretty crazy and pretty shitty if people were killing each other over sandwiches, but I have a hard time believing that people are going to try to steal sandwiches from people knowing that they'll kill them if they take them.
Sure. I mean, obviously, it's unlikely. I guess, okay. Honestly, the real reason I wanted to talk to you, it's not necessarily related to convincing you that you're wrong about your property take. I was actually just more curious about your other beliefs, if that's okay.
Sure.
Like related to that.
Sure.
What I mean is, why do you draw the line at a person? Oh, okay. Here's what I want to ask. If I stand in my house and say that any tax collector who comes and tries to take what I've properly earned, I'll kill them on the spot. Does he have the right to kill the tax collector?
I think arguably he could, But then at that point, I think the state has a right to kill that person. I think that as a society, we're by force, whether you like it or not, we're bought into certain concepts that allow society to run and function. One of those things is the collection of tax revenue in order to ensure like the safety and security of people that exist within the state. If you don't like that, you just have to get the fuck out and leave. If you believe that you don't owe any type of obligation or you don't owe any type of debt to society, then you're not compatible with the society as it exists today, and you need to leave. You can't.
You're certainly not compatible, but if I was a libertarian, right, which I think you used to be, right?
Maybe like when I was 17,
no?
maybe. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have seen you talk about it or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
To me, when you say, can the infinitely strong person steal infinitely steal from the weaker people, is that not the state? I mean, is that not the state embodied? Is not what they do thievery?
No,
of your
absolutely
possessions?
not. The state is a
Yeah,
body
why?
that's entrusted with power by the people in order to enact something that ideally should be for the benefit of society. Now,
You didn't entrust them.
What?
You didn't do that, right? You didn't entrust them with anything.
I'm bought into the concept of how our government and our society runs. I might not always agree with it, but like as a society, this is how things are structured, and this is ideally for how most people want to be ruled. I mean, now like theoretically, if I lived in a society where they made it legal and they said, well, no, people can steal shit from you, then like, yeah, I guess I would have to play by those rules too. But
I don't feel like, so you feel like but you didn't have to consent to the way our society operates to have to pay taxes.
Correct, but I think I think there's a form of ongoing consent that happens as a result of you existing in society. We can take like antinatalist arguments, say you never consented to being born or whatever, which is kind of true. But I think once you're in a society, you kind of have to play by some collective rules. Do you really think that an individual stealing something from you for personal gain is the same as the same as the state taxing you? I think
it's the same? No, I think one is bad and one is good.
Yeah, okay, I would argue the same thing, of course.
But I would say that it's fundamentally the way you were talking. The way you were talking in that debate, right? You were acting like the very act of owning something is this extraordinarily sacred act, which can be impeached by nobody else upon risk of death, right?
No, not at all.
That is a rational response
it's
to it.
more so that like I respect and I value the autonomy of people such that somebody else can't violate that for their own personal gain. I think there's a big difference between like a state collecting taxes for the betterment of society, hopefully. There's a big difference between that versus an individual that's just trying to rob you of your autonomy or rob you of your possessions for their own personal gain. I think those two things are very, very, very different.
Why? But it's literally stealing because you want to build a library. I mean, what's the difference?
The difference is that in order for our society to function in the way that it does, all of the people in that society have to be bought into a few key concepts, and people that don't buy into those are incompatible with that society. So for instance, if you're somebody that thinks that they don't have to follow laws like related to murdering or whatever, you're not compatible with the society. You have to leave. If you're somebody that and like taxes are a fundamental and instrumental part of how society works. We have to be able to collect taxes. If you don't think that you need to pay those or you don't ever want to be involved, then you just have to leave. There's no place for you here. Our society.
I mean, there's no place for you anywhere. There's literally no place for you in this world, obviously, except for, I guess, like
you could like go move into the forest like the Unabomber or some weird thing.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. I would agree that there are some parts of the social contract who say that you probably wouldn't work anywhere in the world. If you thought you could rape and murder with impunity, there's probably not going to be any society for you. Yeah, you're just going to be incompatible everywhere you go. So yeah, I would argue that a person that thinks they don't owe any debt whatsoever to society in terms of their work or like by paying taxes or whatever, that person's probably not compatible with society. They need to either be kicked out of or leave that society or go find some other place to do things. Yeah. Taxation is like it's I wouldn't consider it theft. Like it's a justified like it's complete. I think it's completely morally justified. You get a lot of benefits from society. You have to pay a debt back to that society as well. That's how society functions. Stealing is not at all comparable to taxation.
So I guess what you're saying is that you think that these are all aspects of the moral contract, right? You enter into a contract with society, et cetera. So, and if I asked you what legitimizes an amendment to that contract, the amendment being one must give back to society if one is to participate in its pleasures, whatever. What legitimizes an amendment like that, or whatever you want to call it, is utilitarianism, you'd say, right?
I mean,
you'd say it's for the greater good for the greatest number of people. That's what makes it a legitimate amendment on the contract.
Kind of. I mean, I think.
Oh no, it's not.
Well,
I
I think you could get there.
Words in your mouth.
No, I mean, I think you can get there consequentially or deontologically. I don't know if it's like necessarily relevant that we have to be utilitarian to make these statements.
Oh, I'm just asking why what about these amendments to the social contract do you think legitimizes them? I'm not saying they have to be legitimized.
Oh,
in
sure.
any
Well,
way.
okay. So for me personally, I want to have the best world possible for myself. That's my number one priority. And the way that I think that happiness or good things are created is generally in union or in harmony or in cooperation with other people. So I need to be wanting to make a perfect world for myself. I need to enter into contracts with other people that I would imagine want to make perfect worlds for themselves. And then all of us are going to come to forms of mutual agreement that kind of protect each other's interests because we work better in groups than we do as individuals. Two humans together will create more happiness than two humans separated. So from that, I would build out these kind of like basic understandings of like, hey, well, we don't steal from each other. We don't kill each other. We don't take advantage of each other when we could, because any personal gain that we might have by violating any type of social contract like that is going to be negated when somebody else violates a social contract like that. So from that, we would build out systems and institutions to protect these norms that we would respect from one another. And then in order to establish and in order to maintain these institutions or norms, we would have to collect things like taxes. And again, like everybody needs to be bought into these concepts. If you're not, then you're kicked out because you're not compatible with that society. That's how I would view things.
Okay, it sounds like you're agreeing with me that it basically comes down to the amendments in the contract are good by virtue of the fact that they make the most people the most happy, including you.
Yeah, I would say
whatever.
so. Yes, yeah.
I feel like the distinction is whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
So
making sure we understood from the ground up. But yes, that's what I would say. Yeah.
I guess what I would say is that regardless, returning to the thing which I started this off on, regardless of any theoretical question of whether or not an infinitely strong man can steal from weak people forever, am I okay? No, I'm not okay with that. But what I would say is that I don't agree with the idea that one of the amendments in our contract should be stealing. You should, if you're told to go fuck off, I guess you think they have to have a gun or something. They have to display their lethal force. You probably think that.
Yeah, you should. The other person needs to be put on notice. I think that's important that the other person is put on notice.
Okay.
So, for instance, I'm not in favor of people that defend private property, like open lands with like the fucking razor wires hung between the trees that decapitate kids that drive by, or like you sitting in your fucking barn waiting to snipe some dude that unintentionally wanders onto your property. I don't think that that's okay because the other person isn't aware that they're being like
okay.
That
So
much. Yeah.
sure, yeah, I would say that basically it's a bad deal when it comes to society at large. Is what I would argue. I would argue that it is in general a pretty bad deal to every time somebody steals with, I guess there's a lot of edge cases here which we could get into, but whenever everybody steals,
I think I can be wholly consistent on any edge case here. So on your end, you would be uncomfortable with a society where thieves are executed on the spot, which I can understand. But I would be more uncomfortable with a society where people can steal with impunity, knowing that they'll never be met with lethal force. I would be more okay with a society where some people get killed because they're put on notice and they decide to steal something anyway, versus a society where people just have to sit and watch as a thief breaks in, steals their shit, and wanders off with impunity.
I would argue that there does, of course, need to be structures in place which prevent these things from happening in various ways, right? Including detaining the people responsible for the crime. But no, I don't think I'd rather live in a society wherein people are dying for that. Yeah, I don't agree that somebody's stealing a motorcycle and you're holding a gun and you just shoot him. To me, that seems like a way worse society.
Why?
I think we should try
Why do you think it seems like an okay society? So let's say we're not in RoboCop land yet, where the police are 100% showing up on time to every single thing, solve every crime, right?
Of course.
So you've got a guy that works and he earns like $9, $10 an hour. He saved up money for his nice fucking Harley. He's really happy with it. And then some guy shows up to his house to steal it. Why do you think that guy should be forced to just sit there and watch the guy just make off with his shit?
Why should he be forced? Oh, I think he should be forced generally because the wager there, the utilitarian wager between the guy's life versus the Harley Davidson, which that is grand larceny. I guess I don't know how.
I don't care about grand larceny. I don't care anything. I'm just in terms of like,
I'm just saying
this
that
guy has traded
world,
hours of his life for this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you should probably just report that for sure rather than killing him. I don't think that that's a great idea.
Okay, I guess we just,
society.
I guess we just, I think it's a really
Sorry.
bad idea that in your idea that you advocate that stronger people should just be able to infinitely steal from weaker people. But I think we just probably have to.
The
agree
word
to
"should" is
disagree.
doing a lot of legwork there. I don't think they should be allowed to infinitely.
No,
steal
you are
from
saying
weaker
you're
people.
saying you have a moral imperative to stand by and watch as a stronger person steals your shit. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I think you have a moral imperative to not kill when your life is not in danger. Yes.
Okay.
That is what I think.
Sure. Well, we're not talking about not killing when your life isn't it. We're talking about watching somebody steal your shit. We're talking about watching somebody steal things from you.
I'm
Yes.
saying in almost every case where your life is not in danger, you have a moral responsibility to not kill. That's what I would normally think. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I can't think of anything else. Do you have anything else?
Wait. Oh, okay. I guess that sorry, it's one thing for 10 seconds here.
No, you're good.
I guess to me, broadly, when I was listening to that debate, you obviously don't remember it, but it seemed as though you held the sacredness of people's ownership of their property in such high regard that I have trouble understanding not why you think that people should pay their taxes if they're obligated to, but why you think that we should have a society like that. Why do you think that? I don't understand it. If you think that people's property, their life essence that they're pouring into everything is of this much value, I don't totally understand why you think our society shouldn't be essentially libertarian.
So two things real quick, because a lot of people, and I'm not going to make accusations of backgrounds or whatever, because I don't know where everybody comes from, but I hear really... Sometimes people talk about property in very strange ways to me, and my familiarity with property is a lot different. So back before I was into streaming and I worked, if I bought something, like that thing represented, number one, incredibly real hours of my life that I had traded away for it. Like that means something to me, okay? In terms of I have lost, weeks of my life saving up for, the first or the second generation iPod, or, I'd saved up for a car stereo. So not only are these things that I trade hours of my life for, these things represent measurable improvements in my life. The ability to listen.
I'm not trying to contest that here.
Sure, I know. I'm trying to be more rhetorical in 2021, and usually I know that because people like you will load things. You'll be like, oh, it's just property, and I'll let you get away with it. So sure, but I want to push back on that. It's not just property, okay? These are things that have a massive, not even a material, but an immaterial improvement in your life on a daily basis that you had to trade hours of your life to get. It's not just like a fucking vase or something that stands in the living room that you look at when you come home. It might be something that measurably improves your emotional well-being every single day of your life, and you had to give up parts of your life to get it. So when I'm talking about property, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, okay? That's what I mean when I say property, okay? I don't like viewing this as something that is wholly separate from a person that exists in another dimension. You have to open up a portal to go murder someone somewhere else that's stealing something that you own in a timeshare in Miami, okay? I just want to get that out of the way, number one. Number two, so you ask me how are you okay with taxation at all? I believe that humans can create, if we talk about utilities or utils, humans that work together can create more utility than humans that are separated, even if there are the same number of people. So if you've got 100 people that are separated, they might generate 1 unit of utility each. If you have 100 people working together, they might generate 50 units of utility each. So it seems to be the case that people working together are capable of achieving more happiness, even on an individual level, for every single person involved than people living apart. If that's true, which I believe that is true, then that ropes me into forming contracts and bonds with other people that they're forced to work with me in that manner, which means that we have to pay taxes and we have to do things for every other person in society with the mutual understanding that all of us are working on building something together that improves all of our lives in ways that we couldn't if we were separated. That's where my idea for taxation and stuff comes from.
Okay, so I was never trying. So my question then is, do you not feel that way about the hours you put into your work when the government takes it? What's the difference in feeling? I guess I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, you have the feeling when you work as a wage slave, the feeling is Monday and Tuesday belong to the government, right? You pay taxes. But the thing is that the reason why taxes suck or why a libertarian, I guess, might feel like taxes are theft is because you only see one part of that exchange. I work and then the government steals my fucking money. But what people don't see is the only reason why you were able to earn that money in the first place is because of taxes that had already been paid. So whether we're talking about basic shit and obvious shit like roads and schools, or whether we're talking about more abstract stuff like a military to defend your country or larger bodies that organize trade between you and other countries, right? Like the only reason you're unable to even earn any money in the first place is because of what your tax dollars have already gone towards paying for. So that's why I'm in favor of things like taxation. Like, it's not just you getting robbed by the government, you're paying the government for a service that it provides you, but it's really easy to see the tax dollars you lose, and it's really hard to see the benefit the government provides.
So I guess this is just going to become circular because I'm just going to say I'm not interested in what the government is doing for me. No, thank you. And then you're going to be like, well, you're roped into it. It's better for everybody, etc. It's going to go back and forth like that. Wait, there was something on my mind. Shit. Sorry.
No problem.
God, it was one last thing. You were talking about this really important relationship between people, especially people of lower means, people who can't afford as many things, and the stuff that they buy because it's of tremendously more importance. So I guess I'd want to ask you, is there any sort of moral weight that you put differently when a thief steals a Harley Davidson from a billionaire? Or is that the same thing?
I think I would have to construct the same rule for everybody. On a personal level, I feel a lot different. If I would have found the guy that had tried to that had stolen my saxophone when I was going to college, I would have fought for that for my life and probably died because I was a small person. But there's no way I could ever imagine watching somebody walk away with my fucking instrument that I know that I can't afford to replace. I would die defending it, 1,000,000%. But these days, if I came home and there was a burglar in my apartment, I would just walk the fuck out. I'd go to Chipotle and I'd wait 2 hours for them to fucking leave because I can replace all my shit now. So from a personal perspective, I acknowledge that there's a difference. When you're wealthy, your property doesn't really mean as much because I can fucking buy all that shit over again. When you're poor, your property means so much fucking more to you because it represents so much more to you. Now, from like a moral perspective, I'm uncomfortable with the idea that you can steal from somebody that won't notice that it's gone. Because if we go back and we look at it from that rural utilitarian perspective, now instead of saying that like, as long as you're big enough, you can steal from somebody small enough, now we're basically saying like, it's okay to steal from somebody once they've passed a certain threshold of wealth, which also probably isn't okay. I don't think that would be acceptable either. I'd be more okay sitting on the other end of that, where people are killed for entering areas where I know that I'm going to get killed if I do this, but I'm going to fucking do it anyway. I'm okay with that person being killed trying to steal something, rather than crafting the rule for society that says, well, if somebody's wealthy enough, you can go and steal their shit.
All right. I guess, okay. I'm sorry, this isn't much of a debate. I'm just asking you questions at this point. So if somebody has like a no trespassing sign on their property, does that count or not?
Yeah, I think that puts you on sufficient notice. If it says no trespassing.
That counts? But there's an implicit no trespassing sign on every person's house.
Well, I mean, I guess you could argue maybe it needs to be like a no trespassing or I'll shoot or whatever.
Or I don't think a sign should suffice. Period. To be honest with you.
Are you? This isn't an insult. Are you American or?
I am. Yeah.
Wait, where in general are you from?
I'm from the Northeast.
Okay. So I lived in Omaha, Nebraska. I guess maybe this is just something I grew up with. I would assume that if I'm breaking into somebody's house, that they're gonna fucking kill me if they catch me. That even without a sign, I would just assume that. But that might be like a difference in area that people grow up in. But I would always assume that my friends would even joke about it, even when I was fucking 10, because me and a friend would run around the neighborhood hopping fences and shit, and our scary thing would be like, fuck, like we get caught, we're gonna get fucking killed or whatever. Like unironically, like I would think that around certain people. So I mean, I guess maybe in other areas you can make the argument that like a sign or whatever isn't sufficient to put a person on notice that they might be sacrificed in their life for entering an area. You can make that argument, in which case, yeah, sure, maybe more notice would need to be given, sure, but.
So do you think the law should be changed to reflect this? Like, you think it's actually like fucked up, the current laws in America?
Yeah, I actually think castle doctrine stuff should be way more. Well, from a moral side, I think so. From a pragmatic side, it gets a lot weirder because when we start looking at like how things play out in real life, when people die, one of the worst things legally is that you lose half of the witness to that. So for instance, you might get situations where, do you remember that guy I want to say it was in Texas, that like camped out in his fucking basement waiting for the 2 kids to break into his house? And he like executed one of them. Mm-hmm. So
there was somebody who had a trap that was waiting for them where they walked into the door and acid broke on their heads.
I don't know about that. But I remember.
No, that
as part of-
happened.
okay, I remember as part of that case. I'm pretty sure he shot one of them dead, like on the ground when they were already like completely out of. Yeah. So like in cases like that, like so if my rules led to an uptick in that type of thing where people were being like executed on property, and we started to lose the ability to decipher, like, wait, hold on, like, was this person actually like breaking some shit, or this guy just like wander into your yard on accident, right? If that started to happen, then on a pragmatic level, I would have to reconsider to where I'd be like, okay, well, hold on, like, I don't know, like, that maybe this is something that needs to be looked at. So the legal level can't always meet the moral level because it can't, right? Like, like for instance, like you have to be 18 years old to sign a contract. Is that an appropriate age? There are probably some 16-year-olds that can sign contracts that have worked for 2 years or whatever. And there are probably a lot of 22-year-olds that are just graduating from college that are too dumb to sign contracts. They don't know what they're doing, right? But so we kind of approximate, like, hopefully the law tracks morality, but we don't know 100%. So that might be something that I would have to change legally speaking, depending on how it played out, you know?
I have a response to that, but one thing, I forgot it. It wasn't a jar of acid. It was that he set up a trap shotgun so that when the guy opened the house, he was shot in the face, which was not decided as legal, which I don't think, no way you would think that should be, whatever.
No, the guy's actually setting traps and shit. That gets like really weird.
Well, why would you think that should be illegal? I'm confused, actually. Like, because he definitely had a no trespassing sign.
The problem that I had there was that so when I said before about infinitely stronger or strong people stealing from weaker people in infinite manners, I think that I'd have to think this more, but I think you probably have an obligation to stop somebody if you have the means to otherwise without endangering yourself. And my understanding of that case was that it was like an old adult male that was against like some teenage kids.
Right.
In which case he probably would have had the ability to stop these people without having to like set up traps and execute them. However,
he wasn't even in the house. He was not there, right? He went to another place, so he didn't have any ability to stop them without the shotgun.
Wait, I was under the impression we might be thinking of two different things. I was under the impression that he was there, that he was waiting in the basement the whole time, that he was like literally waiting for them to break in, and then when they did,
No, there's this great legal about this. I would recommend it. I think he left the house and waited for the guy to open it up. And he got shot in the face. But you can't think it changes the morality. He's in the basement versus a country home, right? There's no.
No, it would totally depend on the. It would depend on like who's doing the breaking in and like who's defending or whatever. But if I'm being like ultra charitable, if we construct the argument in the right way, there are ways where I could agree with that. Sure. If there's a guy waiting in his house and two people are breaking in knowing that somebody is going to defend it with lethal force and they decide to break in anyway, like I view that as, I'm really big on like consent and informed consent. Like I view that as a form of consent. If somebody puts you on notice, I'm going to fucking kill you if you break into my fucking house, and you're in front of like, yeah, fuck it, let's break in anyway. Then I mean like you're on notice. Like I don't know what you expect to happen. I don't know why you would expect that these people should be defended. That's insane to me.
And notice can be as basic as like a no trespassing, or else I'll shoot. I have a gun.
So I mean, that would depend on how reasonable it is for the other person to understand that their life is in danger. Like if you live in like a nice suburb and you go to visit a friend and you like just enter the door and you go inside and you don't ask for permission because you think it's okay, I don't think that somebody should be able to kill you for that, because the person doesn't have a reasonable expectation that their life is like in danger. But if you know that you're breaking into somebody's private property and you know that you're not supposed to be, then I would, at least in my understanding of the United States, in most cities, I would expect you would know that like your life is under threat there. Like you know that what you're doing, that you know that this is like the deal that you're making essentially, that if you get caught, you might get killed.
This is kind of an non sequitur, I guess. What do you think should happen with guns in America? They should be more or less.
Honest to God, this is a really unpopular take. I don't really care that much about guns in America. I don't think they're that big of a deal. The amount of people that died of gun violence isn't really that much. The school shooting and the mass shooting stuff is pretty horrific. And I think the idea that schools, period, have to deal with any type of school shooting is like really fucked up. I think that if we were going to do anything related to guns, I think that everything needs to focus on getting rid of guns off the like actual out of people's hands before making legislation to ban them. So like I know there's been some success in Australia, and I think in some place in America doing like gun buybacks or whatever, but most of the gun legislation in the United States is just really poorly targeted. Like most people obsess over rifles, which mean nothing, and all the weird like restrictions that we put on shit don't really mean much. Like honestly, the most important thing to combat guns is probably getting rid of the war on drugs. But yeah. So,
but you would say clearly from all this that you think it's somebody's right by virtue of their right to defend their property to wield a gun and thereby wield lethal force, or no?
Yeah, I would say so. I think so. Yeah, assuming that like guns are legal and you're not like violating any crazy state laws or whatever. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I come at it from like a very like I think that if we're making like if we're adding amendments to our social contract, I definitely think that giving everybody a tool to immediately escalate situations to lethal levels, it doesn't lead to the best outcomes for everybody. Not at all.
That's
would
where
say.
I totally disagree. Because like if I'm crafting that contract with other people, I'm 100% fine with it. I would never imagine stealing shit from somebody else. I would never imagine that somebody would be okay with me breaking into their house and me taking possessions from them and then me being able to get away because they can't catch me in time or because I'm larger than the person I'm stealing from. I would never. So I personally, I would have no problem with agreeing with that. If I had 10 neighbors and we were all talking to each other, we're like, yeah, if any of us catch each other like breaking into each other's fucking houses, like we're gonna get blown the fuck away, right? It's like, yeah, of course, obviously.
It's not that I'm asking you, like Destiny, if you would have a problem with that rule. But more broadly, I just think it's important to remember that people aren't just like stealing as a result of like, interior evil, right? And what's more, I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to distribute guns to everybody such that they can, extrajudicially kill people for entering their property.
I mean,
don't think
people
that
are
makes a lot of sense.
extrajudiciously entering property. I mean, like, and whether
Sure.
somebody's stealing because they're evil or not. I mean, personally, I'm a hardline determinist, so I don't believe in like people being evil, or whatever. But like, it doesn't really matter why somebody's
right.
stealing from you. Now, the only exception I'd make here is if people's judgments are compromised. I think that we can have conversation about that. So, for instance, like a 5-year-old wandering onto your property, I wouldn't expect them to understand the ramifications of what they're doing. Or somebody that's like ultra drunk that stumbles into your house, I wouldn't expect them to understand the ramifications of what they're doing. But for like a, for
Well, what do you-
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, what do you think about like the fact that like having a gun predisposes you to these sorts of like mishaps in the first place? That we have what you're essentially establishing here is like you can figure it out, random dude. You can figure out if extra legal force is required here. Sorry, not extra legal because you think it should be legal, but why you think that this sort of force is required here. I just don't see that as a great idea.
I mean, I don't know. I would expect people to. I just don't like the idea of living in a society where weak people can have their shit taken from them by stronger people. That just I don't. That's just like totally unacceptable. That's like a worst case scenario to me. I can't possibly imagine. Like you would have to get me through so many hurdles to say to some poor dude like watching a big guy break into his garage and just steal his shit and make like 2 or 3 trips to his car doing it. Like you would have to make such a huge argument to me to be able to say like, yeah, that guy needs to just sit there and watch it happen. I just can't imagine that. That's insane to me.
Uh-huh. I'd say, is lethal force necessary? Should we not aim for force that is not lethal? Do we not have a moral responsibility, say, to pick up a bat instead of a gun, pick up a knife instead of a gun?
So knives are horrible for fighting because you put yourself at a great deal of risk. A bat
Sure,
could
they're
work.
intimidating.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, like the only problem is that like I don't know how much responsibility I want to put on the person being violated against the person doing the violating in order to de-escalate a situation. That's the problem. It's a lot more personal, but like if I were to compare this to like a woman is potentially being raped by a guy and she pulls out a gun and kills him, I don't think I'd ever say to the woman like, well, hold on, don't you think you should have tried a knife first? Like, well, no, of course not. Like she doesn't know if she's going to win with a knife. She doesn't know if she's going to win with a bat. Same thing with a person like stealing something from your house or your garage. Like you might get a weapon and go out and try to fight them. You might lose that fight. Now you're fucked. Now you're double fucked. Now you were just going to lose your possessions. Now you're going to get an ass whipping or maybe killed, right? So I don't know if I'd put the onus on a victim to escalate the levels of forces responsibly if they're not guaranteed to end late the encounter. Now, this has some reasonable limits to it. If like a girl in a bikini is in your garage and you're like the fucking Rock or whatever, you probably don't have to shoot this person, right? Like, or if there's like a 10-year-old in your garage or whatever, you won't go out and fucking kill this person because they're too young, right? Of course. But like in general, like yeah, I wouldn't put the onus on a victim to say that they need to be more responsible with how they escalate force against somebody violating their property, put on notice that they're doing it, that it will be like met with lethal force.
Okay, I guess it's 5:40 here, so I should go soon. I guess what I would say is, yeah, I guess the way I see it, having a huge number of guns that exist with which to dose out lethal blows to people who are stealing your shit is almost certainly not a good bet in the long run when it comes to the people who own the gun particularly. It's not a good bet for their safety.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally true. I mean, just owning a firearm, period, predisposes you to all sorts of other issues, like the fact that you might use it in an encounter, the fact that I think owning a gun doesn't give you any better chance of saving your property than just using a bat. In some huge, like, fucking meta-analysis I saw of, like, self-defense encounters, having it means you're more likely to kill yourself if you're suicidal, having it means you're more likely for a child to have an accident with it. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. But there's different,
I just
that's
think
a
there's
different,
a huge number of...
Yeah, that's a different kind of argument than, like, the self-defense argument. If you want to talk about, like, overall, like, should guns exist in America, that's a way different argument. And there's probably really good arguments on both sides of that for, like, guns should just be gone completely. But they're here.
Well,
so.
it isn't. I guess I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm just trying to say is guns existing is something that we even would think about contesting in the first place, right? And so to say that somebody has this, like, this predisposed right to use it in a situation where it is almost guaranteed to escalate the conflict, as most people advise, especially people who are talking about self-defense situations, it's just surprising to me to think it's a great idea.
I don't view escalation as being immoral if you're the person being aggressed on. I'm not comfortable with that language.
Oh, escalation for you too, though. I mean, it's
I know,
more
but
likely
I'm
to
still
end in
not.
your death
I'm
as
still
well.
not sure, but I'm still not comfortable because escalation implies like moral responsibility. When you say escalate, whether you mean to or not, and I'm not saying you're trying to do this, but when somebody says somebody's escalating something, they're assigning a level of like moral culpability to that. You know, if somebody walks up to you in a bar, punches you, and then takes out a knife, and then you take out a gun and kill the person, like, did you escalate? Yeah, you kind of did, but like, is that like a moral wrong that you escalated there? Like, I don't think so. Like, pulling out the minimum level of force needed to shut down a violent encounter where someone else is the aggressor, I think is more accurately reflective of what's happening rather than just saying like, oh, well, you just escalated the situation, right? Like, the other guy is aggressing. Like, the initial aggressor, I think, bears the weight of that encounter and where it could possibly go to. That's how I would view it. Like, if I break into somebody's house, like, I would be prepared to fight to the death. Like, I know that if I break into somebody's house and they catch me, they might kill me, and like, I might have to kill them. Like, that seems so reasonable. That seems so understandable in my mind. I can't imagine anybody thinking any different.
Right.
Like, if you broke into someone's house to steal their shit and they woke up and caught you, do you think they're just going to politely ask you to leave? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like,
what do I think is going to happen? I don't know. I guess I would be worried that they were going to kill me for sure. Yeah. Oh, wait, that's not so even without like, which, by the way, so if he wakes up and he sees you, then he can kill you, or no? What's the deal with that? Or I guess he has to say, like, I have a gun. I'm a big beefy boy. I can. But if he did, oh, whatever. I'm sorry. I'm losing myself.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the person's put on notice, I don't think it's entirely unreasonable for that person to assume that like they're gonna get blown away if they're trying to like break into somebody's house and steal their shit. I think that's super reasonable. And I don't think society falls into this horrible paradox where like, oh no, like, what are we going to do if we kill people that are trying to steal things from people? Like, well, people probably shouldn't be trying to steal things from people at all. Like, I don't think that's that horrible of a thing. Like, what if this leads to a society where nobody is breaking in and stealing anything at all? Like, okay.
They try to steal shit all the time, not just breaking in. Like, they steal shit constantly, right?
What do you mean by that, I guess?
Well, I don't know. There's muggings that happen. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, and I think all of those should be defended by lethal force as well. Yeah, if somebody's trying to mug you or some shit, then and you have the ability to defend yourself, yeah. But again, maybe, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's difference in backgrounds or where we grew up or whatever. Like, if I mug somebody, I would be fully prepared that I need to kill this person because they might kill me. Like, I would never imagine that I could mug somebody and then like, hold on, nope, I've got a gun. It's like, fuck, you're right. All right, dude, I'll see you later. Like, fuck it, man. Like, you got me. And then I just like, walk away.
You can imagine a situation, right, where like a pickpocket is going around town, takes your wallet, right, runs down. As he's running away from you, you bring out your gun and say, I'll fucking shoot you. And then he keeps running and then you shoot him in the back or whatever, right? Yeah, to me, I would take that as a violent and ridiculous escalation of the situation.
Sure.
Honestly.
And then on the flip side, I would say that it's absolutely ridiculous that a pickpocket should be allowed to run around and rob people with impunity because he's faster than anybody else. I think that's insane to me. Like, there's no tears lost for a guy that is stealing from people, knowing that he might get killed doing it, and then he does and he gets killed. Like, fuck it. I mean, like, damn, you're stealing shit from people. What do you expect to happen?
Yeah, I guess I don't. For me, it's not really about what he should or shouldn't expect to happen. It's just about the fact that his life is of something to be sacred. There's something sacred in the fact that he's alive.
Why? Wait, why? He's not treating his life sacred. Why the fuck should I? If
I
he's
just don't
willing
really
to
believe in,
forfeit
like,
his
consequences
life,
for actions like this.
What?
Generally, yeah.
it's not about. It's not even
like-
about consequence. It's just about some guy protecting their shit from being stolen from somebody else. An extension of who you are. Like, I'm not going to treat some guy's life with sacred shit if he's not going to treat his own life with sacred shit. If you break into somebody's house, clearly your life doesn't mean that much to you. If you're willing to take that level of risk, so why should the victim have to like value the perpetrator's life more than he values his own life?
Criminals are, a lot of them are pretty impulsive, right? I mean, they're not legitimately having the inner thought every time, oh, this is going to be the night. They're definitely not. They're acting impulsively much of the time, right? No,
It depends. I mean, there are crimes of passion, but burglary is usually like a pretty like determined thing. Like, I don't think somebody impulsively just breaks into somebody's house, right?
Criminals, we always think that increasing jail sentences, for instance, is an amazing way to deter criminals. The reality of the situation, they just don't think they're going to get caught.
Yeah, of course. But again, this is a different thing. So when we talk about like prison, for me, I think that prison should exist as a form of rehabilitation. However, on an individual level, I don't think that one individual is responsible for rehabilitating somebody aggressing towards them. This is an institutional level versus a person-to-person level. I think there's a different responsibility.
I wasn't trying to get into whether or not prisons are just. I was just trying to say that people who commit crimes are generally not doing the cost value
Sure, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's up to a victim to try to determine the intent of the criminal. Much the same way that I wouldn't put any personal, like, bodily crime like that. Like, maybe you're getting raped by a guy, like, fuck, maybe he's just really fucking frustrated. Maybe this guy's been a virgin for, like, 30 years or whatever, and he's just, like, out of his mind fucking horny. Like, I don't think that would be a good excuse to use, like, when somebody's, like, being assaulted by somebody, right? Like, you don't really care about the intent of the person at that point. They're violating your autonomy. So whether it's by stealing your shit or by violating your body, like, I don't think that it's on the victim to try to assess the state, the mental well-being or whatever of the person doing it, beyond, like, a reasonable thing, right? Like, again, if a guy is like blackout drunk and he stumbles into your house, you probably shouldn't be killing this guy because clearly he doesn't know what's going on.
Okay, so I guess there's just a bridge that's just not going to be, because I guess at the end of the day, and you said this in the debate too, you just think about robbery as something that is, on a par with sexual assault, and you even right, like it's not as bad, but it's somewhere in that realm, right? And to me, I think unless somebody's legitimately taking away your means of survival, yeah, I guess I just can't go there. I can't think of it as that much of a crime. As bad as that.
If somebody, so like, let's say that music is really important to somebody, and let's say that they like work and work and work, and they save up their money, and after 4 months, they're able to buy. In my day, it would have been like a Walkman, one of those little CD no-skip players or whatever, or maybe like an iPod or something, and they're finally able to save it. And this is like the one little fucking ray of sunshine they have in their life. And let's say that somebody manages to break into their car, and as they come out from work, they see this guy in their car, and they see him go to pick his iPod up, and for whatever reason, this guy carries a gun with him, and he's like, dude, you can't take that. Like, this is like one of the only things I have in my life that actually like makes me happy. Like everything else in my life sucks. You think that guy should just watch the other dude walk off with his shit because it would be immoral to shoot that guy?
Yeah, for sure. I do think that. I mean, I definitely think there should be infrastructures in place that
Don't.
Right?
There is no infrastructure in place. You're never getting that iPod back.
Yeah, I definitely do think you should let him go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I guess that's it. People in your audience were so surprised it's 5:40. Yeah, I'm in London right now. That's why it's late, guys. They were so distrusting of it. Okay. I guess this was a good talk.
All right. Yep. I'll see you later. Have fun. Peace out. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye. This has to be a troll comic, right? I think I was friends with this guy, or he followed me on Twitter. This comic can't be real, right? Sometimes I wonder if different backgrounds like predispose you to looking at property in different ways. Because like, if I had grown up my whole life as wealthy as I am now, I don't know if I would necessarily have the same view. Because like, do I really give a fuck if someone's stealing my shit? Like, would I really kill somebody taking my computer? I don't think so. Like, they probably need it more than I do, unironically. Like, I don't know if I really care that much. I can replace it pretty easily. Like, it's a little bit inconvenient, but like, is it really worth it to kill a dude just for like my, is it really worth it to kill a guy just for my computer? Like, damn, that seems harsh as fuck. Like, I don't know. But back when I like worked at the casino and back when I was going to school, some of the like only moments of happiness in my life were listening to my like $50 shitty fucking stereo that I had personally wired to the two little component speaker sets that I got out of a fucking dumpster, okay? Unironically, that I had hooked up in my fucking car with the tweeters fucking taped to my A-pillars because I couldn't actually open them up or drill them in. Like this was like, these were the little itty bitty things in my life that actually made me happy. And man, dude, some of the saddest moments I had were driving to and from the school parking lot, and I couldn't listen to my music after my car got broken into. And like, when you're like poor to a certain level, and when the entirety of your life is fucked and dark to a certain level, and you lose like just the little itty bitty tiny things that like you have to look forward to, or the little itty bitty tiny things that like make you happy, to have somebody come into your life and just steal something like that from you is like such a horribly disgusting fucking feeling, dude. Like I can't describe what it's like. Like when I walked back to my car and I saw that my saxophone was fucking stolen, and I saw that my fucking stereo was gone, and my two shitty fucking speakers and the tweeters had been ripped out of my fucking doors, it was the most disgusting fucking feeling I ever had in the world. The amount of shame that I felt driving my fucking car home that day with the fucking holes in my doors and my empty little fucking dash and like no fucking, and the sound of the road just like fucking, oh my God, it is such a horrible fucking feeling. And then you wake up the next morning and you've got to do that over and over and over again, and you're reminded every single fucking time I get in and out of my car that somebody stole my fucking shit, that some fucking piece of shit is out there either pawning my fucking instrument or trying to pawn my fucking stereo. Like, what a horrible, disgusting fucking feeling. And and from that perspective, if somebody would ask me, like, do you think you have the right to kill somebody stealing your shit? It would be like, duh. Wait, why do you even have to ask me that? Of course, I would die defending my fucking shit. I would die defending my shitty student model sax and my fucking $50 fucking stereo, of course, without a second thought. So I really do wonder sometimes if it's just a difference in background. Because like I said, if I would have grown up like I have now, like I could never imagine giving a fuck about any individual piece of property. I'm like, fuck it. The only thing that I could change my mind on, are sentimental things. I don't have sentimental attachment to much. The only thing that's ever been taken from me when I was incredibly wealthy that really bothered me was my very first cell phone that I had. That was like a smartphone or whatever, because I had a lot of pictures of Nathan on that phone that I'll never get back. And that actually made me so unbelievably fucking pissed off. But I guess that's actually similar to when you're poor. Because when you're poor, you're mad that you think people are stealing things from you that are irreplaceable to you. And then when you're wealthy, even when you're wealthy, there are some things that are irreplaceable as well. And it's like, yeah. But what are you going to do, I guess? Wait, oh no. Oh no, wait. I ironically don't know how to convince someone that you shouldn't kill someone for stealing your treasured Walkman, even after brandishing a weapon. I'm not even saying this is a dunk. I was just so ill prepared for what would seem to me like generally agreeable. I think it's just a background thing, because on the flip side of that, because people have always presented in the most one-sided way, like, and on the flip side, I can't imagine telling somebody to just say, dude, it's all right, man, just let them steal all your shit. Like, who cares? You'll probably buy another one in a year or two anyway, or like when taxes come, like maybe you can get another one. Like, I could never imagine telling somebody like that. I would be so ashamed. I would be so fucking ashamed of that. Dave Chappelle told a similar story in one of his recent skits about like coming between a man and his money or whatever, and how the guy, he thought he was gonna fucking kill him. I truly do think that it's like, I truly do think it's a difference in background though. So, but yeah, I don't know. I understand it. I understand that perspective, but people going to clip champion on the violation part, but I 100% agree. Knowing someone broke into your stuff, they were in your house and took shit is one of the most dehumanizing feelings ever. Man, oh man, dude. Having your stuff stolen is literally one of the worst feelings in the world. It is one of the worst fucking things that can happen to somebody that can't get that thing back. Like, I don't know how to convey that to somebody that's been middle class their whole life. Like, it is such a horrible fucking experience. Especially if that thing is something that you used every single day and it like made your life like actual measurably better, and you know that some fucking piece of shit just stole it from you. Like, it's like the worst. It's the worst fucking feeling in the world to have somebody take something from you like that. I guess, like, imagine getting grounded like times 10 and it's not even your parent grounding you. Like,
you gnome.
yeah, home invasion and shit could be really rough too, for sure.
Another thing I've noticed is when people don't understand the concept of having only one place to go. When you're poor and some fuck shit happens at home, at least in my experience, there's nowhere else to go. You can't even move out of a shithole for the first part. Oh yeah, one thing that sucks, one thing that's awesome about being like middle class or being, oh my God. The animators missed this so much. When I talked about how like blue collar work can be like really shit and can be really backbreaking, can be really hard, and a whole bunch of like Ego Raptor and all these guys are being like, well, actually, animating is actually incredibly hard. I spent a whole summer doing construction work once, and animating was way more hard than that. One thing that people don't understand is that the coolest thing about being wealthy is that it gives you options. People don't know what it's like to not have any options. It is a feeling that is hard to explain, and it will creep in and it will control and change the way that you view every other part of your life. You know, like when somebody's saying like, dude, fucking just go to the school for this thing, take a risk. Like you might as well, you're young. And it's like, well, okay, well that's easy for you to say because if you fuck up, like your mom and dad are gonna pay for you for the next 10 years of your life, right? But if you like live on your own, if your parents haven't paid any bills of yours since you were 16, if you don't have any fucking like backup savings or they don't live in the same state or you don't have people, like you're kind of fucked. Like it's a lot harder to take those risks, you know? Like sometimes when wealthy people brag about, and not to take away from anybody's accomplishments, if you graduate from school, you did, like that's great and that's awesome. But like sometimes when wealthy people brag about like walking a tightrope, they forget the fact that they're like 1 inch above the ground. Like that's really cool that you went and you did that thing, but like if you fell off the rope, like nothing bad is gonna happen to you, right? Like anybody can do it. Well, I shouldn't say anybody can do it, but like it's a lot less scary when like the ground is right there, when you always have a safety net, when you're like super close by. Yeah. I noticed that a lot of people did that to me. Well, a lot of people, Anna recently was doing that to me about the Rachel stuff, where she's like, why did you and Rachel fight so much? Like, couldn't you just disengage? Like, couldn't you just go somewhere else? Like, oh, first of all, this is my house, bitch. Okay. Number one. Number two, I don't have anywhere else to go. My parents live like 1,700 miles away in fucking Miami. Okay. I don't have any fucking place to go. And number three, I'm a small motherfucking person. Okay. Back when me and Rachel fought, I weighed 105 pounds. Okay. She had like 40 pounds on me, unironically. These were not easy fucking fights. It wasn't like people would try to spin this as that like I was like kicking her ass up and down the fucking stairs all day because I was just some like abusive demon or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Like, this is not how this played out at all. What the fuck? Yeah, people are crazy, dude. Holy shit. More people need to be forced to struggle and suffer in life, okay? So they can understand the experience. I don't know. I don't think in general, I don't think suffering makes people better. I think it usually just fucks their minds up, but I don't care. You should have to fucking suffer, okay? Anytime I see somebody that treats like wait staff like shit or will treat like janitors like shit, my number one fucking trigger. And if you've come to my events, one of the few penalties, there are a few crimes that I think that you should be executed on the spot for, that we should have snipers set up in every single fucking city just for people to do this, is if you're somebody that fucking litters, you should be taken out on the spot. And if you've been to any of my fucking canvassing events, you've heard me say this every fucking time I'm in front of a group of people. Hey guys, clean up your goddamn trash. If I find any fucking trash here, I will kill in a video game. I will video game all of you. Do not fucking litter. Do not fucking throw trash anywhere. Oh my God, this shit drives me fucking crazy. Why did I bring up the littering thing? Because I've unironically been in hotels with streamers where other people will say shit, like people will leave messes everywhere. And they'll be like, dude, throw it in the trash. And they'll be like, huh, that's not my fucking job to clean it up. It's like, your last name's not Rockefeller and you're not wearing a fucking crown. You can pick up your goddamn trash, okay? Fucking get out of here with that shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh my God. I don't care. People say, did you see XQC's room? I don't care if your own room is dirty, but I'm like, fuck. People have no respect for anything around them or for other people, and it drives me fucking crazy. Holy shit. Oh my God, it drives me fucking insane. Sorry, donuts.
You gnome fuck!
Someone stole my old iPhone that had voicemails of my late father, and I would have definitely killed someone over it. Maybe try more sentimental property appeals in these property debates.
Oh, true. That's another thing that I had on that phone as well, was all of the last conversations that I had with Chris as well were backed up on text there, and then those were gone as well. I dropped my phone in a movie theater, and I didn't notice it until that day. It fell in my pocket. When I went back to the theater, I couldn't find it. Somebody had stolen it, and nobody knew where it was. It's pretty irritating. True.
What is the crinkling sound? It's driving
it's like
me
a little bag I
fucking
have.
crazy.
Sorry.
You gnome fuck!
Enjoy a sub, Liz. Filthy sock damn ye wins.
Stop.
You gnome fuck!
Thanks for the hours of content and entertainment.
Did you experience a lot of shitty people when working at McDonald's? Working service is one of the most soul-crushing experiences that I've ever had in my entire fucking life. I keep saying that I want to do this, but I'm too lazy to do it. But honest to God, my dream fucking job would be to go right now and to just like try to get a job at some fucking fast food place. I would only have to work there for 3 days tops before I would get that customer. And as soon as he fucking talks up or some shit, I would just lay into him with everything I have. And I would just quit on the spot because obviously I don't need the job. And I would make sure that I would show up to work every single day in a rented fucking Lambo so that when I leave, they know how much worse they are in every fucking way than me and all the ways that they care about, because people that mistreat service workers, the only thing they care about is their status and their money and blah, blah, blah. I would have like the biggest fucking Rolex I would fucking go get from a pawn shop or some shit. I don't know, dude. Every time, oh my God, dude. I have everybody that's worked in service has had the fantasy of like getting to just lay into that one subhuman piece of fucking trash customer, but you never can because your manager would kill you, or your supervisor would kill you, or the customer would kill you, or your employees would kill you. No, your employees usually would understand. But like, oh my God, I've always had the dream of just trying to find those customers and then going to get another job at another fast food place and then just doing it again. Are the fries fresh? No, I don't mean annoying customers. I don't care about, well, sometimes annoying customers are annoying. I'm not talking about annoying customers. I'm talking about the disrespectful pieces of shit that think that just because they're older than 40 or whatever, that like the world is owed to them and that you're their personal fucking servant. And they don't understand that like you're just there working your job and they have no fucking respect for you. Most of the people that I encountered when I worked customer service, I would be ashamed to call that person a peer. And these people were twice my fucking age. It's unfucking believable. Unfucking believable. Holy shit. Some of my happiest fucking moments were when I was a supervisor at the casino working night shift, because at night shift, when everyone else is gone, I'm the head of fucking food and beverage and I'm the only motherfucker to deal with. So when somebody would come up and ask me for a refund and I'd be like, oh sure, here's a refund. And I'd walk over to the table and I would take their plates and I'd just throw their food in the fucking trash and they'd be like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, you wanted your money back? You're not keeping the food. Oh, it was the fucking, that like tiny window of my life was my favorite customer service experiences. Oh God. Who's the head of food and beverage? That's me. If you want to talk to my manager, you can come back in 8 hours, motherfucker. But your eyes are so fucking red, you're going to be hungover all the more. I know, we both know you're not making the drive back. Submit to my authority. Fuck. I fucking hate customer service. Is the worst fucking shit. Because you know what? Because customers are horrible. They're just the worst people. Fuck customers. Oh my God. But you know what? Also, on the flip side, I will say, now that I'm living the civilian life outside of, fuck some service workers, okay? Don't make me feel, I am the most, if anybody that's ever had experience with me in real life will tell you, I am the most over-polite, obnoxiously kind person in the world. Don't make me feel bad because you're having a problem, okay? If I walk up to the counter and I'm like, hey, like, are we, do we stand here to get seated? Don't snap back at me and be like, can't you see that we're very busy right now? I'll get you. And I'm like, whoa, hey, calm the fuck down, okay? I didn't say anything mean to you, okay? I see that you're fucking busy. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. I don't fucking work here, okay? Calm the fuck down, all right? Everybody just needs to chill the fuck out, all right? Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
What's your name, sir? My name is Deez. Deez what, sir?